Welcome to the 1457 podcast from Scotland, where golf began. We are, of course, a digital platform that inspires golfers all around the world with our photography, our short films, and this podcast, and more of them, which you can check out on our feed. We want golfing fans from around the world to visit our Scottish shores and play golf in the home of golf. Now, I'm Stevie. Some might say I'm a resident golf nut, functioning golf addict, although Malcolm has just told me that he's played 15 rounds of golf in 16 days, so I think he might have a bigger problem than me. And I'm joined by Malcolm Duck, legend of East Lothian, and none other than top tour operator, and let's just say the whole of Scotland, Dave Kerr. How are we doing, gentlemen? All right? Dave?
Very well, Stevie. Very well, Stevie. How are you?
Good. We are going to be talking today about open courses. It's not too far away, special one, 150th. And in the lead up to the Open, we're going to be doing a special series of podcasts around focusing on the open courses in Scotland. You will have our experiences as well as guests from some of the courses that we're talking about. So this will complement our Open to All series, which is now launched on our social platforms and YouTube, documenting the experience of playing all 7 open venues in Scotland. We asked a group of friends and filmmakers to take that trip on. What a trip that is. And you can watch these films each week on Scotland Where Golf Began's channels. Right, this week we're talking about Turnberry. Now, this is a course close to my heart. Was a junior member there. My granddad who introduced me to golf was a past captain, so it's such a special part of the world to me. But as ever, when we want to talk history, there's only one guy that I turn to for this, Mr. Malcolm Duck. No pressure, Malcolm, give us a potted history of Turnberry in 3 minutes, please.
Quite lucky because if you watch the Scotland Where Golf Began, you'll see the wee film we made of Turnberry and old history. The Marquis of Ailsa commissioned Willie Fernie to design the course in 1902 from land from the Culzean estate. I think the biggest thing about it is the Turnberry lighthouse looking across the enigmatic Ailsa Craig, an absolutely glorious backdrop. It's also thought to be the birthplace of King Robert the Bruce, but a lot of history through there, and the wars almost brought the golf course to an end, and it twice had to be remodelled. And really those remodellings are what really give us what we've got today. 1951, the course was redesigned by Mackenzie Ross, and the new layout became the making of Turnberry. And in 1977, it was awarded the first of its Open Championships and possibly one of the most famous golfing combats in the world, the duel in the sun with Watson and Nicklaus. It came back in 1986 and 1994, but a wee while later it had to wait to come back in 2009. Where Tom Watson recaptured his former glory. The result was bought by the Trump Organisation in 2014 and changed again under the expert eye of Martin Ebert. And we'll probably talk about that a lot more, but I think a lot of those changes where it is now were already envisaged, and it was the money that came in to help redevelop that made it as it is. I've actually not played the course in its current format, and certainly even before the change it was thought to be one of the top golf courses in the world, and I think that with the Robert the Bruce course beside it, 36 holes of just outstanding golf, and hopefully it will get back in the Open Rota and be shown to the world in all its glory.
Dave, you like me are a fan of the changes. I mean, there was a sort of weirdly an intermediary development that's maybe not so obvious to people before Trump bought it. So originally, when I started playing it, we had the Ailsa course, which is, I experienced it from the sort of 1977 blueprint. And then the sister course was the Arran course, which was the course that I kind of played, one of the first ever golf courses I played golf on. That course, even though it's been attempted to be developed about 3 times now, there's still holes from that course that make up the sister course of Turnberry's Ailsa. So we have, it was the Kintyre originally, which is the first big development, and they used holes from the Arran, and then more recently they made the Robert the Bruce course, which is turned into a phenomenal course, which I think we talked about in this podcast in the past, which is an amazing golf course now, and some of the best holes from that are from the Arran course. It's interesting, Malcolm, I didn't realise you hadn't played the new Ailsa. That's good, because Dave and I can tell you that it's the greatest golf course probably in Scotland. And you can't argue with us.
Do you know, I've not heard, I'm not going to, because I've not heard one negative comment. Not one negative comment have I heard about that new layout, and I think it is, potentially one of the best golf courses in the world. It really is right up there. But I think always happy for an invitation down and play.
Yeah, I say it was always amongst my easily in the top 5, very regularly the number 1 course on my list up until the changes were made. I confess I was a wee bit nervous when the Trump organisation came in and announced they were making quite sweeping changes to the golf course, and I remained nervous about it up until I had the chance to play it, and I think it's lifted at another level. I think particularly the changes around the turn 9 and 10 are the obvious ones. Those holes were always very good, actually. 2 really interesting par 4s as they were. Now this terrific par 3 that takes you out to the lighthouse, and then a par 5 that takes you around the rocks and back into the turn. It's just two amazing golf holes there, and some of the other tweaks they've made have just really lifted it for me from what was already a very, very special place to play golf to somewhere which is, has very few equals in world golf for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, and I would say that historically the 9th probably had one of the most famous tees. The old 9th had one of the most famous tees in world golf, but actually the hole wasn't particularly great because the humpback fairway, it was quite straight. The humpback fairway used to drive the pros crazy because you'd hit it down the middle and it would drop off to the left, drop off to the right. But what they did was amazing in that they basically moved the hole to the left and made more of the hole playing over the cliff, turned into a par 3. Phenomenal with the lighthouse as the backdrop. Absolutely phenomenal.
Even if you don't play it from the back tee, and I know if you want to lose a ball, it's a good place to do it. But you've got to go back there and have a look at the back tee. You've got to go and stand on that back tee and just try and assess where you'd put the ball, because the green is this tiny sliver that sits in the distance, isn't it, from back there? What is it? Is it 240, 250 or something from that back tee?
From the very back tee, yeah.
Yeah. But you need to at least go back and have a look, don't you, when you go there? And again, with the lighthouse sitting off to the left, it's just stunning, absolutely stunning.
I think when we did the modern and old courses, and the modern courses, all these modern courses, they're great courses off any tee, whereas some of the older courses, maybe they aren't quite so great. So it's nice that they've kind of combined that, kind of more modern approach to an older course.
It was Martin Hawtrey that did it, I think, wasn't it? Who did the design for the most recent update. I'm right in that, saying that, am I believe.
No, it was Ebert.
Oh, Martin Ebert. Okay, apologies. Martin Ebert, but he's also the same person that's been updating the old course, so that's someone with obviously. He
does a lot with it.
Yeah, he's basically the R&A's designer of choice, isn't he? So, and again, that was.
So, but I think a lot of those changes had been planned for quite a long time, but the money wasn't there to do it. The only other, I've got a guy who stays with me quite regularly who did a lot of work on the hotel down when Mr. T bought it, and he says. The area around the fountain is the greenest grass in Ayrshire because in the States, when they have a fountain, they don't need a water resupply because it all stays in, but it all blows out, so they've got to fill it up every day.
I tell you what, as usual with those courses from that gentleman, you do see the biggest flags you've ever seen in your life. The flag the size of a five-a-side football pitch, basically.
Yeah,
but I do wonder where he gets those flags from. He must have a factory somewhere manufacturing these just massive flags.
Giant flags. They are massive. But the 10th, a very special. I mean, I always loved the 10th. I told my wife when I first met her, and this is before this update, I said, see, when I have my time and I'm cremated, that's where I want my ashes spread, on the 10th. And now, so that was obviously very sacred to me, and then it actually made the 10th better as well. The 10th was like a brilliant par 4, and now it's an amazing par 5.
But there were 2 lighthouses on the golf course for quite a while, were there not? Peter McCloy was the starter.
Yeah. Good point. He was the starter, yes.
Who was not the smallest man in the world.
Good Rangers man. He was the starter till very recently, actually. Till very recently.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's right, yeah. Very funny. I know the lighthouse.
I've been waiting for half an hour to do that one.
I saw you wrote it down and everything, Malcolm.
I did.
Now the lighthouse is probably one of the greatest halfway houses you've ever experienced in your life. And you can stay in it.
Because you can stay there as well, can you?
Yeah. I've been in for a look around a couple of times to the suite that's up there, and it, as you might imagine, it's opulent. Certainly, that's the best word used to describe it.
So from a playing experience, I would say that my personal view is in the old Ailsa, there was probably a couple of maybe 3 or 4 weak holes, but now the one hole that they've probably not changed much. The 2 holes have not really changed much, I think, now are the weakest holes, and you can't really pick fault on any of them, which is the 12th and the 13th. They're still good holes, but they're just not great. 13th in particular is probably a bit of a nothing hole. But every other hole is either been enhanced or has been sort of embraced its greatness.
Is it the 5th on the old layout when it's you had to drive to the right to open up the green before the par 3?
The 5th is it's now par 5. It used to be it used to be par 4.
Yeah, so the Seniors Open in 2003, Australian boy just missed the cut, and I think this kind of sums a great golf course up. He hit 9 great shots. So Roger Davis missed the cut. I'm sitting in the players' lounge, and this boy's telling the whole audience how he's hit 9 great shots on this hole. So he was drilling it down the middle, but not quite, a bit left than he wanted to. And that green runs up the front, and the flag was sitting at the top. The ball comes up, the green comes nicely into it, misses by about 2 feet, and runs down into the bunker. Now it's sitting at the front of the bunker. So he's in there, and he makes a big divot with his foot, gets right down in there, gets it up, back up to 2 feet and in the bunker. So right back down. Now he's in the hole that he's made with the divot. He's got to play out his foot shot, and so it goes on.
I know, well, actually, that can't remember whether that pot bunker is there now, but that pot bunker in the 5th in the old layout was famous for that. It was the most ridiculous bunker you'd ever experienced.
So it made the hole.
Yeah.
I think again from memory, I think what they've done now, so that pot bunker used to be right on the runoff. Now I think they've moved the green slightly back so that the pot bunker isn't necessarily on the runoff anymore, but there's definitely a bunker short left and another one short right that'll still catch out. And then I think there's 3 more bunkers that then run maybe 20 or 30 yards short of the green, including that old pot bunker.
Yeah, it's a great hole. And then what they've done is they've basically moved the green from where it was and just put it further into the hill and back, which they've done a few times. So in the 10th, which is amazing, used to be an amazing green, and they basically just put it further back and basically on top of the cliff. But it's such a brilliant hole. They're absolutely no complaints about that, and it's obviously had a few memorable opens in its time as well. To be fair, Malcolm's the only one old enough to remember the '77 Open. He needs to tell me and Dave about it. So,
well, it was a very good year, obviously, because it was the year I was born. But
really,
it was.
God, I'm getting old. I was 2. I can't remember it. Really.
42.
I 77. I was still at school. I remember hearing about it and reading about it. I didn't watch it, but I do know that the last time he didn't quite win it and someone else won it was when Sink won it. Mr. Nicholas phoned Mr. Watson up and said, "Congratulations, Tom." He said, "What's that?" He said, "You're the only person that's made me watch 18 holes of golf." So Tom Watson won that. The duel assigned, obviously, from Nicholas. A match probably only rivaled by the Troon match between...
I would agree with that.
Remind me.
With Stenson and Mickelson.
Mr. Difficult. Yeah, Stenson and Mickelson. And I can't remember how many playoff... They went down the 18th 2 or 3 times, I think. But it's interesting, 6 opens between seniors and the Open there, and Watson's been involved in 3 playoffs. Because he, in the 2003 Open, he was in a playoff from Carl, old English player, and he went down the 18th 3 times and won it on the third occasion.
The Senior Open you're talking about, sorry, the Senior Open, yeah.
The Senior Open, yeah. So very special place for Mr. Watson. I know I think there's a plaque to him on the first. I always think there should have been more than 4 Opens at Turnberry. It just seems to be sitting in the kind of history of the
I
Open.
think the complaint from the RNA, although don't quote me on this, was that it just because of its location, it just
don't quote me.
don't
on
quote me
this
on this.
on the
Don't sue me on
podcast.
this RNA. Don't quote me on this. But basically, it didn't get enough people because it wasn't easy enough to get to. Because you've only got you've got two main roads in and out, and that was basically what it came down to. So if you look at the numbers for the Open historically up to even with 2009, it was always one of the lower attended ones, and that's probably because of its location, which is a shame because it had the space for the infrastructure, and it has now and now there's obviously a political related reason it's not going there, which might end at some point, but it's got the space to host it. It just getting there and back is not as easy as other places.
Carl Mason is the name I was looking for. Hopefully they sort the road links out because it really deserves to be an open venue.
My first experience of it, I worked there at the 86 Open as a 30-year-old guy working on the practice ground. One of those guys that cleaned the balls, sorted the balls out, gave them back, set them ready for the pros. But it was what a great experience for me as a 13-year-old, just like getting to be that close to the players and whatever. And I had a wonderful experience with Freddie Couples. So the night of the Saturday night of the Open was a big boxing match. Frank Bruno and I think it might have been Joe Bugner were fighting, and so I brought these balls. Freddie Couples comes on the range, brought these balls out to Freddie Couples, and he's like, "Did you see the boxing last night?" I was like, "A bit late for me, Freddie, because I'm 13." You know what I mean? But he's like, he says, I said to him, "I like Frank Bruno," and I did my, do you know what I mean, Harry, impression for him, which made him absolutely piss himself. So Freddie became my new pal. So then he says to me, "Do you want a shot? You want a shot hitting a ball?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So he gives me his. So that time it would be like carbon shaft, persimmon head driver, obviously very stiff. And he's like, "Here you go." So I'm like a wee guy. So I'm like, have the first ball, grip it down just to the bottom of the rubber, hit the shot, big slice out the right. Crowd in the background are like, whoa. I'm like, oh no. So the next thing, he's like, right, have another go, Stevie, have another go. Caught a clean connection. I wouldn't say it was the purest hit in the world. It went straight. Big round of applause. Way, brilliant. And so he said to me, he's like, come and see me after my round, because he made the cut, but he was out early. So he was like, he wasn't anywhere there. So, needless to say, we as all of the sort of people working the practice ground had banked a great space on the 18th grandstand. But so we got there early, and it was like he was coming in. I was like, oh well, I went in to see him. So I stood there while at the entrance to the locker room from outside. He's like, how you doing? Come in. So I went in, gave me a box of balls. Great guy. But do you know what I remember in retrospect from that now, actually, was that sitting in the locker room on his own with his head in his hands was Greg Norman, and that was before he went out to play. And that was the context of Greg Norman had led in the 86 Masters, the 86 US Open, and he hadn't converted, and here he was at the 86 Open ready to play the final round to try and win it. So it's one of these things you remember in retrospect.
And you're in his
And I'm
ear
like,
asking for
Greg!
an autograph.
Greg, got any golf balls, Greg? What's happening? Anyway, the rest is history. But
Dodger talks about timing, and with him in that Masters when he blew up. And Dodger reckons if he's from making a decision on hitting the ball, if he was 8 to 8.5 seconds, he was playing well. If he was 8 to 8.2, playing excellently. On the Masters, on that first 3 days, your man was something like 5.5 seconds to 5.3. And on the last day, he's between 5 and 20 seconds. Rhythm completely destroyed. Really interesting lesson for all of us about just rhythm.
So another interesting thing that happened in that 86 Open, which relates to Greg Norman, was that there was, over the week, you got to just know the caddies, and you really didn't know some of the players, but you got to the caddies because they were just like, ones were nice to you, ones weren't so nice to you, but we got a bit of patter with them. And it was Bob Tway's caddy, which I can't remember his name now. I became friendly with him. And anyway, so he was really nice. And there was another guy that said, come and see me after the last round, because Bob Tway had made the cut. So went and saw him and he gave me some balls. Now it was again really great for a wee guy, and what a brilliant experience. And then obviously the next major, USPGA, Greg Norman's leading. Bob Tway holds the bunker shot to win the USPGA.
The USPGA.
And what's interesting, what I found out afterwards just by seeing him, is that guy became Paul Higginson's caddy for all his sort of the highlight of his career. What he did give me, and I still got it, was they had to wear the old caddy suits that basically they have to wear the Masters, the full suit. So I have actually got the full Bob Tway caddy suit in my loft somewhere, which must be fits me like a glove, mate. Fits me like a glove. Fits me like a glove. So that's my 86 story. Malcolm, tell me a 2009 story. Were you at the Open then?
No, I wasn't.
Yeah, Dave was there though, weren't you, Dave?
I was at that one. Yeah, I was at that one. I was there with a group of friends, and we were gathered round that 18th on the Sunday, and all desperate to see Tom Watson do it again. Just desperate. I've seen it. I've watched it back again a few times on video, and I still do not understand what happened. Still don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
Just so like he just ran out of steam.
I've met Mr. Watson a couple of times. Once was walking around Carnoustie with Mark Carneville on a practice day, and Mark said, "Come up and walk round," and he talked through the whole 18-hole playoff at Carnoustie, and he talked about that, and he said if he was standing there again, he'd hit the same shot,
yeah,
hitting 8 iron in, and it just hit the bit of ground that bounced hard, and he said that's golf, and it's still so sanguine about it. And if you remember, the silver medal winner was a 16-year-old,
wasn't it?
and I think Tom was just about 59, and yeah, I think so. And you could have having a 60-year-old and a 16-year-old picking up the medals would just show you how approachable golf is. But he was still, and his caddy said if you get him practicing, he'd still be great. So a couple of current stories about that on the podcast from up there. But they thought that ball was perfect in the air, and decision making, they wouldn't change the decision making one iota. Maybe where they should have putted or chipped, because he's a great chipper.
Not a great putter.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
See, what was great about that Open though was the scoring was good. It was like 1 under, wasn't it? Which is great. That's proper. And one of the things you got to give credit to in Greg Norman 86 was he shot 63. And it was literally the worst weather, right, in the history of golfing weather. It was unbelievable. Like it was like December, wind, rain, and he shot 63. It's just like must be one of the most perfect rounds of golf ever, isn't it?
But Watson in the playoff, when they're coming down the 18th, he put his ball in towards the stand. And apparently he looked up the crowd and said, "Be careful, I've no idea where this is going." And I think he was just jiggered by then. But apparently he'd also committed some rule breach that wasn't called. So I felt a bit sorry for Stuart Sink, because he's going to, he's the forgotten man of British Opens. But he's not, by people who understand and follow golf. And I think he was very humble and gracious in the way he dealt with that. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
Yeah, but it's you win. Remember Katrina's answer? How'd you get on? I won.
Yeah,
nothing else matters.
Exactly. It's not how many, it's how, or it's other way around. It's not how many, it's how. It's how many, not how.
Take 17.
Give him a chance.
It's how many, not how.
Yay.
But 94 was interesting because Jesper Farnovic kind of blew it, didn't he, in the 18th as well? Because he hit. I actually saw that in real life, in action, where he hit his second shot over the flag, but too big. And in 94, they grow in the rough really deep at the back, much deeper than it was 2009. So basically, he hit it like 10 yards too big, and it was kind of dead, which is probably a bit cruel. But to be fair, Nick Price, he made the eagle in 17. He did everything he had to do. But I'm sure Jesper Parnevik will regard that as one that got away for him.
Nick Price is a member at Pine Valley, and there's a chap called Professor David Purdy, who's known by some in golf because he helped write Monty and Sam Torrance's Ryder Cup speeches. And he is the mad professor, and he's also a member of Pine Valley. So Purdy David sitting on the new boys' table beside this South African chap, and he said, "My chap, big off from Scotland," which I answered yes. "And which is your favourite course?" "Turnberry." "Why would that be?" "I won your Open there." It was Nick Price. They hadn't got a clue. The legendary Professor David Purdy, great orator. But Price is a lovely guy, and again, very humble man.
What a ball striker he was, though, eh? He probably should have won more majors for his kind of...
He really disappeared after the Troon Open, didn't he? That last...
97 was
he didn't... Yeah, don't think he played his seniors. I think he just kind of...
Yeah.
Off right.
Again, I think it's an interesting point about that finishing stretch as well, because I've found an old stroke saver here from just before the 2009 Open, and that last hole off the blue tee as it was then was playing 465, and there was a par 4, and you know you talk about the distance boys hit the ball these days, but you're just saying there, Malcolm, even Mr. Watson was hitting 7-8 iron into that green from 465. It's and that's nearly 15 years ago now. So yeah,
here was a good one, right? One of the coolest cats that was kicking about in the 86 Open, right? Just turned pro, lots of money thrown at him, giving it to biggin. Robert Lee, now top golf commentator. He was one of the cool cats kicking about, and we were like, we guys that practice, there's Robert Lee. Oh, he's cool. And the other one was Philip Parkin, who was the Welsh player, who was obviously a great amateur player as well. So there you go. Philip Parkin and Robert Lee. I'm trying to think of other sort of stories from that time. Nicest guy, Peter Jacobson. He was lovely. Apart from obviously Freddie Couples.
obviously.
Yeah, I remember the seniors, senior one 2003, that I had some holiday. So I went and chapped on Roger Davis's door, and he looked at me and said, "You don't know much, shut up, keep quiet and stay close." So we got in the back of the buggy, ended up on the driving range, and he's hitting balls, and to his left's Gary Player, then comes up Mr. Nicholas, and then comes up Mr. Watson. So I'm then suddenly realised I was his coach, which probably said why he said keep quiet. But no to the camera, but it's a memory I'll always treasure, was standing on that tee, seeing those, especially those four boys hitting balls, because that was something special.
Roger Davis's caddy, I think I actually might have befriended him in '86. He was a nice guy, big blonde guy. Because remember after that, did he not? Was he not winning in the Dunhill Links, and then he hit it out of bounds at the 17th, probably in '87 or something like that? I think that's a good memory.
Could be. He was second in. Dodge was second at Muirfield in '82, or '87. Not sure.
Ask Google.
He was right up there with all those guys. Just never won a major.
And what does he do now, Malcolm? You still in touch with him?
Yeah, absolutely. We catch up every couple of months because he's in Australia and I'm here. Normally one of us is slightly slurring our words. That's not true. No, he's good. He's now president of the Australian PGA. And I'll maybe tell you another story about that another day.
Does it involve alcohol?
No. All good. It's quite a brave choice because Roger is old school. Remember looking at Justin Rose and the Q&A when he turned just gone professional. I said, "Do you think he should have gone professional just now, too early?" And Roger said, "Well, last week he wasn't taking my money." Because these guys are hard, it goes back to Katrina. It's about winning. That's where their bread and butter comes from.
So I suppose we should maybe start thinking about ranking these as open venues. Now, Malcolm, you are excused from this because you haven't played this golf course. But I will happily say, in Scotland's Home of the Year style, that this, I give it 10. I give the Ailsa course 10. Dave?
Yeah,
what do you
I think the only thing... So the only... And this is me really looking for criticism now, right? I remember the ambition with that ninth hole was to make it the best par 3 in the world. And I remember I've played it, maybe 3 times since the redesign. And each time I think that's not the best par 3 in the world. But that's just my expectation being mismanaged. I think that's just a mismanagement of expectations. Actually, there's nothing to fault in the golf course. I'd struggle to give it less than a 10 out of 10 if I'm honest with you, Stevie. It's just... I've played it well and I've played it badly. So do you know sometimes you colour your views by how well you've played somewhere. I've played it well and I've played it badly, and each time I've come off a big smile on my face.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What else do you want? Golf's supposed to be fun, and it's fun.
If you think about it as because we talked about this before, especially in new courses, right? So you think about a golf course, its situation and the golf course. So you've got great golf courses, but some of that is maybe leaning towards its situation. So Kingsbarns is a good example. Kingsbarns is a decent golf course and in a wonderful situation. Turnberry, Ailsa course, smashes it in both fronts, right? Because it's got an amazing situation where it is, the views and everything, and a phenomenal golf course. Now, Muirfield, I have played that, which is an amazing golf course. You wouldn't necessarily say that situation was as picturesque, in my opinion. However, doesn't detract from the quality of golf course, if you see what I mean. So it's kind of like judging a book by its cover. So the cover of the book is the situation, but what it really is about is the book. Difficult to maybe say between them from a playability point of view, but I think Turnberry's situation is phenomenal.
So that's interesting, having listened to what you guys have said about the course. You still say there are 2 holes which are maybe just here or there. There are no holes at Muirfield who are just here or there. I will say at Muirfield there are no good holes, they're all better than good. There isn't a weakness at Muirfield, not one. Dave Kerr is maybe looking to the world for inspiration, and can you disagree with me?
I played it yesterday, so...
Yesterday.
So, but yeah, I say personally, and I know this will be a different podcast, but personally I absolutely adore Muirfield. And I would
both.
I'd struggle to rank them and rate them in relative sense.
Well, that's where it comes. What's the ranking? You see, because is it the golf holes or is it the golf course? Look at North Berwick. I'm going to say publicly, I love North Berwick. Everyone says I'm very horrible to North Berwick. I'm not.
Make sure you cut that out, Stevie.
It's the best golf course in East Lothian, but its situation is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and it's great fun, and the service hospitality are cracking.
Well,
so it's this is the difficulty when you come into ranking.
The old course, isn't it? The old course. The old course is a wonderful situation.
Flawless.
Yeah, a wonderful situation.
Maybe we should do a sum up at the end of these. We should do a sum up pod with all the courses and our goods and bads.
Right, so again, if you're being hypercritical, sometimes like a good album. A good golf course has rises and falls, and it has crowd pleasers, and sometimes kind of soul ballads as well. And I think the old course, if we must, that's what it does well. That's what the old course does well for me. It has rises and falls. It takes you on a journey. Whereas, this doesn't make it any better or worse, but aside from the 2 holes that, again, I think we're being critical about the Ailsa course, those 2 holes that, absolutely, those 2 holes that are maybe not absolute blockbusters, but it is blockbuster after blockbuster. That's what Turnberry gives you.
Yeah, like I say, I've never heard a criticism of it at all.
I mean, just to sort of sum this up, because we shouldn't go on about old course either, is because that's another podcast. Is that the first hole in the old Ailsa course was 100% the weakest hole, right? It was basically, you could drive it, essentially, right? It was pretty straight, had bunkers, and to be fair, the remodel almost took that as a challenge to say, right, let's make this a great golf hole, and now it is a fantastic golf hole. I think it's a great golf hole for your first hole. Trouble, dog leg, great green, great bunkering, brilliant golf hole.
Yeah, it used to be just a kind of gentle dog leg, didn't it?
Gentle dog
leg,
not really straight.
Not really a dog leg at all.
Modern players would have hit the green with a drive every time.
Yeah.
It was 320 yards, even off the back tees, whereas it's a totally different hole now. Well,
if you could keep it out of the bunkers,
well, that's it. On that note, that's Turnberry sorted out. Much more to come. Remember, you can get in touch with us on social at Where Golf Began. Email us info@scotlandwheregolfbegan.com, and our website is www.scotlandwheregolfbegan. Bye.